Hey, Richie's Chicken and Soul fam. I am on my way to a small panel discussion as a part of the Black Wine Fest. This year we are, Richie's Chicken and Soul, we are sponsors of the Black Wine Fest. It's a big festival celebrating black wines here in Cincinnati. And coincidentally, it's put on by my cousin Natasha Williams. And we're sponsors this year, and as a part of that, she asked me to speak on a panel related to small business and entrepreneurship. And the topic of the panel is before you leave your 9 to 5. And it's really a focus on, you know, a lot of us before we were in entrepreneur world worked in corporate jobs, and what things would we have wanted to know before we had made that leap. And so excited to be on this panel, just give me a little bit behind the scenes. My three major talking points are one, it's gonna cost more money and more time than you initially think. That's number one. Two, leadership is hard. So when you are the leader and you have to lead your team, make the decisions and handle all the business aspects of it, it's hard to do that and stay resilient. And lastly, you need to take the time to invest in your business and yourself. So those are my three takeaways that I want the audience to take with them. And I'm excited to be a part of this panel, so you're going to be along on the journey. All right, so I just arrived here at the Cincy Black Wine Fest small business panel discussion. Beautiful building. It's in, I think it's called Union Hall. It's a co-working space. From the front of it, looks pretty small, but once you get in there, it's a massive building, and it looks like a really nice festival. So right now they have a panel talking about men and wine, and then our panel will be after that. So just a little behind the scenes action.
This next panel, I really thought about it. Well, before I get into this panel, again, I want to, there he is. I want to ask Andrew to come on up here with Verizon's business. They are sponsoring this day along with Century Fuse, who has graciously given us this beautiful space. So I want to just give them a shout out, obviously, and then can we just give them a round of applause for the support? So I'm going to ask Andrew to come up and speak a little bit about Verizon Business, and then we will get into the next panel.
Hey, thank you so much. So glad to be here today. My name's Andrew. I'm with Verizon Business. So I'm the territory manager for Dayton and Northern Cincinnati. I have a few people here with me that are sales reps in the Cincinnati area. They support stores as well as businesses out in the community. So we do small business, 1 to 9 employees mainly, 1099s, one-man shops. So we support small businesses in the area. Most people think Verizon of just phones and internet, but we have a lot of products that support small businesses on the go. Vehicles, if you guys are doing any delivery with wines, anything like that, for tracking and dash cams, internet on the go. So you have the ability to take internet in your office, at your actual brick and mortar, or if you're on the go from within there. So I just encourage everyone to come over and talk to us. We'd be glad to set meetings in the future to talk to you about your small business. You're not talking to someone already who had a personal account. We can move that over into a business account, talk about the benefits of how it can benefit your business, tax write-offs. You get introduced to additional products on the business side that you don't have on the consumer side. We do anything from using a social or a 1099 Schedule C, all the way with an EIN. If your business is massive and out of our space, we have partners that we work with as well in the local area to help you. So I just encourage everyone to come over, talk to us, set a meeting. We're here to help you in the community, get your business going, help you with your communications. We have voice over IP desk phones, second numbers on phones so you can separate personal and business calls on your cell phone. being able to do iPads on the go. So again, tons of products. I encourage everyone to come over. We got some tumblers, some good books. Set a meeting with one of our local reps that are here. And you know, we're glad to be here and glad to help the community and startups and everything and small business going. So thank you very much, and let's have a great day.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks to Horizon Business. So I've had, you know, this panel is somewhat very personal for me. I know that I've had conversations with Alan, Jelani, who just so happens to be my cousin, Keisha, Matt, and definitely Miss Taryn over there, just about this journey of being an entrepreneur. I worked in corporate America up until 23, and you think you're making the right decision, or maybe the decision is made for you, and then you look up and those bonus checks aren't there, and you look and see what your accounts are looking like, and the reality of it is when is the best time to leave your 9 to 5? So I thought all of these individuals on this panel have some really beautiful insight to share with you all, and we're just gonna have a really great discussion about this today. So I'm gonna turn the mic over to Mr. Allen and let him drive this car into the future. Lunch will start being delivered about 11:30, and yeah, all right. I just want to shout out that they're all in shades of some shade of wine. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. So first and foremost, thank you to Natasha and her team for one, being the visionaries behind this week of events, but also specifically having things that are catered specifically to entrepreneurs. You can never overdo those types of endeavors, so thank you to you. My name is Alan Woods. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mortar, which is an entrepreneurship hub based here in Cincinnati with multiple locations around the country, with the mission of helping entrepreneurs, primarily Black women, get started in their businesses. About 84% of our participants are Black women around the country. We have nearly 1,000 graduates from our program around the country, many of which are in the room. Shout out to all the Mortar alums in the building, make some noise. And also, we have a fund as well, which we have given $1 million back to the entrepreneurs in our network. And we want to give more, so we are a nonprofit if you want to give to Mortar so that we can give the money to the other people who make that happen. All right, so I'm going to have each of our panelists individually introduce yourself, and as you tell us who you are, what you do, I also want you to tell me what is one thing, the main thing that you learned about yourself from the process of becoming an entrepreneur. We'll start with Miss Taryn.
Thank you for not letting me be last.
I got you.
So good morning to everybody. My name is Taryn Kennebrew, and I am the owner of Sweet Petite Desserts and co-owner of Cream and Sugar Coffee House. So that's one part of my life. I also work for a nonprofit called LISC, and I'm the Small Business Program Officer there. So I support small businesses with capital. And then finally, I am also an adjunct teacher at the University of Cincinnati, where I teach entrepreneurship and the business school. So that is kind of sort of who I am. The one thing I would say that I have learned over these years would be how resilient I am, because you need a lot of resilience. So I'll leave it with that one word.
Amen.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt Cuff. I own Just Killing Barbecue here in Cincinnati. We have 2 locations, Texas-style barbecue restaurant, where our mission is Faith Love Barbecue. I'm also the founder of a nonprofit, Renew Employment Services, which our business is a social enterprise which hires people with barriers to employment, and our nonprofit serves to come alongside and provide wraparound services for our team. And the one thing I think I've learned, not one thing, I mean, I'm learning life lessons daily, but I think the most important lesson that I've learned about entrepreneurship is that I am not my job. Coming from corporate America to entrepreneurship is really easy I found that it was really easy for me to let my identity be wrapped up in what I was doing, and that's really difficult to do, especially with the ups and downs that come alongside entrepreneurship. And so just being able to separate my identity from what it is that I do has been really important for just like emotional, mental health, and just all that stability that comes along with it.
I'm Keisha Osbuli. I'm the owner of a clothing brand called Originalities. We make a lot of city, state, and neighborhood pride apparel. We also create a number of social justice shirts as well. I'm also in the process of launching a marketing consultancy brand as well. And then also work for Apple. That's kind of like my 9 to 5 in the product zone. I'm a product zone specialist there. What else? Learned most about myself during this process of entrepreneurship is the power of pivoting. What you think your plan is initially is not how it's going to be in the long run. So I've pivoted a number of times, and I'm sure we'll get to talk a little bit about that in the future.
I'm Jelani Jackson. I am co-owner of Richie's Chicken and Soul with my wife Danielle. We're a local fast casual soul food restaurant. We have 2 locations open currently, and by the end of this year we'll have 4. I would say the main thing that I've learned through this process is that you can't do it by yourself. Success in entrepreneurship is a team sport. Even if you're a one-man or one-woman team, you do need support outside of whether it's coaching, mentorship, someone to bounce ideas off of, someone to just cry on your shoulder or whatever. It's a team sport.
Perfect. Staying in the line of it being a team sport, there are challenges that come with specifically running a business with your spouse, but there's also joys that come with running a business with your spouse. So for you, and I know that Matt and Taryn, so Matt had mentioned that he has the nonprofit arm and his wife Tiara runs that. I just would love to hear how you navigate the additional relationship ties from running a business that is also with a spouse, somebody that you are around a lot more because you're running the business with their assistance, and what that looks like for you, and kind of some of the suggestions you will offer to somebody who may be considering that. And any of you.
Well, I'll lead off. I would say the biggest thing is being very intentional about your time, and business time is business time, personal time is personal time. So the hardest thing is that everything crisscrosses, right? So during business time, you may be thinking of things about the kids, personal things, personal time. You need to focus on business. When a date night or something like that, you're bringing up business issues. And the other kind of challenge is that when you work corporate and say your spouse works in a different industry, when you come home and they say, how's your day, right? You can just, it was good. But now that they're in the industry with you, they understand the issues, the challenges, and so they'll want to parse and dive deep. Sometimes you just want to decompress. And so keeping those separate and being very intentional. The great thing is that you do get to see your partner if you like them a lot. You get to see them a lot. And sometimes you can just take those breaks during the day and say, all right, when kids are at school or whatever, we're going to go grab one.
That sounded a little sketchy for a second. All right, I didn't know where you was going. I love it though. But I didn't know where you was going. I don't think that was on the panel discussion, but yeah, that too, break room. All right.
I will say, well, if anybody has been into Cream and Sugar, most of you have met my husband, Aaron. And what I will say, and Aaron and I, so we practically have grown up together, but he is the calm to my storm, and so he balances me. And I love that he is really my rock, and he is the person that really kind of takes a lot of that day-to-day pressure off of me. And when we come home, for the most part, I mean, we will talk about work, but our daughter is an adult, and she doesn't live at home, so we go out a lot, and we get to have a lot of fun. And so that definitely, obviously, helps my mental. And I agree, like what Jelani said, you do have to kind of figure out how to leave work at work, and when you're at home, be at home, and just be present, because as you all know, time doesn't stop, you can't get it back. And so, I mean, we have a lot of balance. We're not a couple that argues, and we've never been that couple, and although I would be the one to argue because I'm the fire in the relationship, but because I have so much respect for him as a man and as the leader of our house, when we have a disagreement, we have learned how to really communicate with each other. And he forces that on me because of me going from 0 to 100 in 0.1 seconds. But you know, it's been beautiful. It has been great. It's brought us closer together. And I love that I can say he is my best friend. I can tell him anything. We don't have any secrets. And as a black couple, that's so important. And we take that and we transfer that, and we really do speak life into other people. And again, if you've ever met Aaron, being in a coffee shop, if you have a bad day, when you leave the coffee shop and he gives you a word, you will not have a bad day. So.
I'm relatively new to this whole working with your spouse thing, so I'm not the right person to ask.
Just say it's fabulous. It's wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience. It's here.
My wife and I have only been working together for about 30 days. We still figuring it out. But it's good. We do really like each other, so it's really good to spend time with her. We, learning more about her and her strengths and what she's bringing to the table. And unfortunately, she's being exposed to like the restaurant industry and all the things that come along with it. I mean, I'd say one morning I found her just like curled up in the bed, just like in panic, just like I just want to throw up. I was like, look, just relax, just hold on, it's gonna be okay. Just take the day off. It's fine. I got it. So not being able to protect her from like the stress of stuff is a thing, but yeah, we'll see. TBD.
So Keisha and Aaron, you both mentioned having a multitude of jobs in addition to running businesses. I would love to hear why you have determined that it's best for you to not make the full-time leap into entrepreneurship. And if you have done it in the past, why did you go back to kind of having the additional 9-to-5s? What are some of those considerations that you have made in that decision making?
So, I've never been the one who went all the way in and just did originalities full time. So I've been doing originalities for 15 years, and I've always had a full-time job along with that. And one of the things I like about it, well, many things, but one of the things I like about it is I don't have to depend on that check coming in. There was a point in time where I did have a storefront, and I realized like how important it was for me to have this full-time job. Now, fast forward, I don't have the storefront anymore, but Originalities is still going, things are good. But had I went all the way in, I don't know where Originalities would be. So, the only time that I had where I didn't have a job was, I think November of last year, I lost my, I was a marketing manager at a brewery, at a local brewery, and they got rid of me for budget reasons. So that was my first time as a full-time entrepreneur, even though it was something I wasn't trying to be a full-time entrepreneur. So, like, I spent a lot of time looking for jobs because I could have just dove in and said, okay, yeah, let's do it. That's not me. You know, so I'm not going to be the person on the panel saying, hey, everyone just go leave your job and go dive into entrepreneurship, you know? It's just been my safety net. I will say that there's probably some advantages that people have who dive in full time because, you know, maybe I can't go to a meeting because I have to work. Maybe I can't do certain things just because I am working, but I will say overall it's something that I enjoyed doing. I'm not gonna say I would never do it, but especially with the time and the climate, like how things are right now, I enjoyed my job. I enjoy working. I enjoy doing originalities. I enjoy, you know, now I'm about to launch another company and just trying to find that balance in between. But I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way.
So for me, so when I started Sweet Petite back in 2013 is when I launched that business. I did leave a full-time job and I just focused on Sweet Petite. And as you can imagine, it was challenging. I felt like I needed to give it 100%. The blessing was, you know, I have my husband and he, at the time, was the breadwinner. So that was my stability because we weren't making no money. We would have been homeless, basically, if he wasn't working. But he supported my dream and he allowed me to, you know, he gave me that room and space to like grow the business and, you know, do what I needed to do. When 2020 hit, how I ended up going back to a paid job, if you will, for the nonprofit that I'm currently at, that literally was a job that was created for me. This employer wanted me to be a part of their organization. And so they were very considerate of the fact that I was getting ready to open up the coffee shop, because we opened up our coffee shop in June of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. And she was willing to work around my schedule, so I'm a part-time employee. And it's been great, and I'm still there. And one of the main reasons why I'm still there, obviously, it's a level of comfort. You know, I get all the benefits. So, you know, I got a 401k, I got a salary, I got vacation time. So to be part-time and have the salary that I have and be able to still do what I love and help small businesses, it really is, for me, the best of both worlds. So I always say I'm having my cake and ice cream and I'm eating all the things. So if you are able to do that, you know, obviously I'm really good at, for the most part, time management. Not to say that some days are crazier than others, but it does seem like a lot. I mean, it is a lot, but I've figured out a method to my madness. But that really is the main reason why.
During COVID, a lot of small businesses kind of felt the additional pinch and the additional challenges continue, specifically in the food and beverage industries. Jelani and Matt, if you could kind of walk through how things changed for you and if there's any of those things that changed during kind of the hardest times of COVID that you've incorporated into like your ongoing way of running your organization, or just any of the practices that you may have continued since COVID. Just kind of talk us through that, or just things that, as industries change, things that have continued to kind of push you forward.
I'll start out. So COVID was interesting for us. We benefited strongly initially in COVID because we were early adopters of DoorDash and delivery and the such. And the brand had already been primarily takeout. And And so we were initial beneficiaries. Then it got hard, I would say, 6 months to 9 months in, when hiring employees became very difficult. So it was two main challenges: labor costs, food costs. And so the labor cost challenge came because a lot of people were afraid to go to work, and then there were a lot of subsidies from the government for people who weren't working. And so we were, as an industry, competing with enhanced unemployment, right? And so for us, our starting pay rate pre-COVID was $10 an hour. It quickly jumped from 10 to 15 starting, and just because we were competing against people who could stay at home and make $600 a week, and so that's a massive labor cost increase. Then on top of that, the supply chain started to break down. So all of the food costs and input costs, paper costs, all started to jump up. And it was very, very hard to keep up. And we knew we had to be competitive with our wages. And I would say the biggest takeaway that helped us during COVID and then post-COVID is we switched from a customer-first mindset to a team-first mindset. Because initially we were like, we got to keep our prices down for customers. Customers always right. And then we were like, we don't have a team that's well paid. We can't take care of the customers. And so we were very aggressive in going pay increases, bonuses, and that sort of thing. And that allowed us to be fully staffed during COVID. And so when people go to other restaurants, it was a slow wait, challenges in terms of quality of food and consistency. We were fully staffed, and that helped us to jump forward. And then now we're still a team-focused concept, and so we pay well above average starting pay rates. We have bonuses, we have vacation policies, we have 401k, we have benefits and stuff like that. And that's helped us with retention. We're industry leading in terms of retention and low turnover, and that's allowed us to now come catapult to our second store. So for us, much like Delani, our situation was a little different. One, I'll say that I feel like God really kind of ordained our business in a situation for COVID. We experienced like a really difficult time the year before COVID. So 2019 is when we shut down our original location. And September of 2019, we came really close to going out of business. It was really tough. And so we had done a lot of work from September 2019 to, whenever COVID hit in 2020, February, March. We had done a lot of work on our sales just to stay in business, on all the guest experience from beginning to end, and takeout and online ordering and all the stuff. Like, how do we, focus in our business? We had scaled back our team. So our team was like really small and close knit at the time. So when COVID hit, I always use the example, it's like a surfer with a surfboard with the perfect wave. We were just like really, really prepared to take advantage of all the things COVID, all the carry-out stuff, all the guest experience, on top of the fact that was the big, Breonna Taylor, Black Lives Matter. So there was a lot of focus on like black business, and we were kind of like the poster child for black-owned business or black-owned restaurants in the city at that time. Everybody wanted to have a press conference at Just Cuban, which is, I guess. And so we really took advantage of that. And I think our biggest lesson from COVID was that, we were hitting it so hard and we were so busy. We went from, it was overnight. It seemed like we went from, you just being able to walk in and get your food in 5 minutes to like having like an hour and 45-minute wait times. It was kind of crazy. And the thing that we took away from it was really just the whole concept of self-care for our team, because our entire team was burned out. It was only like 5 of us, I think. We had the one location, and we were just kind of hitting it on all cylinders. And so coming out of COVID, I wound up
up turning over almost all of my team because we were just like exhausted and burned out. And so we've instituted a lot of practices within our organization to just focus on that, focus on like the self-care and the mental health aspect of working in the food service industry, that you want to put, you know, serving and hospitality at the forefront regardless of like what's going on in your own life.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm hearing in a lot of these answers is, for one, having a support system, whether that be in a spouse or friends and family or just community. The other piece is having the right team and kind of navigating the challenges that may come from hiring or just making sure that you have the right people at the right time. And then that last piece about self-care. And that's the piece I want to kind of tap into, like mindset. What is and this is for everybody, what is the main difference in the mindset of going from employee to employer, and how do they assist each other, or are there things that in that relationship that become kind of contentious, or just navigating that mindset? What's some of those things that you're considering?
Well, I'll lead off. The biggest leap is a mental leap, and most people who are working a 9 to 5, and most of you in the room, if you're still working a 9 to 5, are probably very, very good at your job. But it's when you become an entrepreneur, you have to also become good at business, right? And so you're good at, maybe you're a great chef or a great IT person or whatever, and you thought, man, if I were the boss, I would do X, Y, Z. They should do it this way. But when you actually get into that role, it is a lot different, where everything falls on you. And then also that shift of how people perceive you when you're no longer, you know, their coworker, and now you're a boss. It's a real big mental shift. And so, especially if you're a high functioning, what I would call a technician in the e-myth world, you try to do everything in the business, right? And you feel like if you don't do it, it won't get done well. And you have to really focus on, how do I build a team? How do I empower people? What is my culture of the business, so that you can have a team? Because you can't grow if you're the only person doing everything. You're eventually going to mentally fatigue and just break. So, I'll give my thoughts.
It is mental. I think the biggest jump is mental. But it's also the idea, Jelani said, you know, when we're working at our jobs, and we might be really good at our jobs, there are built-in structures to let you know that you're good at your job. Like there's validation in the work that you're doing based on the hierarchy of where you are in the organization. Where you're an entrepreneur, like there's nobody to tell you that you're good at your job. And if you're in the restaurant industry, everybody wants to tell you how bad you are at your job. All the time. And so there's this constant, like, I think I might have asked myself maybe 2 days ago, like, is this working? Like, am I the right person for this job? Like, what the heck am I doing this for? Right? Like, so it's this constant, you know, you have to figure it out. Like, you have to figure out, and you need a support system. You know, I need my wife. You need other entrepreneurs to talk to. You need other people who are going through the same thing you're going through. So you have to be really intentional about finding that validation and finding people to pour into you, and just to let you know that, yeah, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, so when we think about time management, you mentioned time management earlier. So what are some of those strategies, Keisha and Taryn, that you lock into to juggle having a 9 to 5 with also running a business and also having a social life and a spouse and all of the things? How are you juggling those things, and are there some tactical tips that you would give to somebody about time management to do that before they make the leap into entrepreneurship full time?
So I think, well, I know for sure the one thing that I do, and I still do this now, is I put myself on my calendar. Because if you're not intentional about blocking out that time, there's always going to be stuff to do, right? And so I live and die by a calendar and a to-do list. And so I definitely look at, like on Sunday night, and I dread it most of the time, I look at my week just so that I can mentally, look at it so that I can mentally prepare myself for the week. And then, obviously focusing on what's going to happen on Mondays. Now, what I have learned to do, just because it took time to get there, I'm usually off Fridays and Mondays. So I try not to do anything really work related unless I'm responding to an email. And then the other thing is, because you have to create those boundaries, and you got to understand what those boundaries are, and don't allow people to impede on that. So I make sure on, Fridays, if it's the day that I go get my hair done, I'm going to get my hair done. Put my phone on silent. And, and I tell my team, I'm like, if it's not a fire, it can wait. If the building is not burning down, do not call me. Call Aaron, call my business partner, but don't call me. So, but you have to be intentional, and you have to get to that place, because obviously when you're first starting out, you're wearing a million hats. And even in that, you have to really have some strategy about how to tackle each thing. But it's important. It's important to have a team. It's important to delegate that work, and you have to trust the people that you hire to do the work. Otherwise, you will burn out. You will end up crashing and burning. And nobody wants to get to that space, because by the time you get there, you've been burning for a while. But it's important. Have the boundaries, put yourself on a calendar, and stick to the things that you enjoy doing. And that's part of your self-care. It's so critical. And it gives you that time and space to be creative, or guess what? Do nothing. And doing nothing is doing something, which is nothing. So
put that on a shirt. Keisha, put that on a shirt.
So Terrence said a lot of great things there. She talked about being intentional, and I think that's the biggest thing. As I talk about, I've had this business and I'm wanting to launch a new business and I'm working, I have to be very intentional with my time. I have a family. I have to fit them into my schedule as well. And there's times where I literally don't do anything. I used to be a person that I would come home, I would work, go to work, at lunch, I would have a working lunch, I would come home, I would do more work, and then it's 12 o'clock, and I've missed out on a lot of different things. So recently, I've been being intentional about doing nothing. And with that, you do feel initially I felt some guilt, because I'm literally doing nothing. I could be doing so many things right now. But doing nothing is also that self-care that we need as well. If I want to sit here, I've never been a person who binge watched any shows, but I've been being intentional about just watching shows. I want to do something that doesn't make me think. And I think it's the biggest thing is you gotta have a set schedule. If I don't have a set schedule, I'm not able to do all the different things that I need to do. And then if I don't do it today, then guess what? Tomorrow, my schedule's gonna look even worse. And between the being intentional and creating a schedule, and me having a full-time job, and I want to go back to something I said earlier, if I realize, hey, I'm getting closer to the point where I want to jump into this full-time, then why can't I work part-time? Why can't I just scale back slowly? you know, and give myself the space to do the things I need to do. And then if I want to jump in, I can jump in.
I love that. And it's okay to binge watch whatever you need to in that time. I just recently restarted watching New York Undercover. It's on Hulu, and I was like, yo, like, took me back to '94. I was a junior in high school, and I was trying to get all the outfits. You know what I mean? I was testing out my New York accent, son, like all of that. But one of the things that you mentioned too is kind of like, if I want to jump in full time, what are some of the keys that you would suggest to somebody if they're considering, like, how do I know that, you know, now's the time, or that, hey, I've been doing this part-time and now I'm ready to jump in full-time, but like, how do I know that it's going to be profitable, or is there a level of profitability that once it hits blank, I'm going to do this? How do I know when it's time? And some people are going to say, yeah, you know, God told me it was time, that's also a thing. But sometimes when God talks to you, you be like, all right, but how do I know which time? Like, is it like today? Like, you know, or is it like next month or this year? So how do I know when it's time to jump into a full-time, you know, doing my business? Because there's a lot of people who it's hard to figure out.
I'm gonna start. So, well, I'm gonna say this just up front. I am very spoiled. My husband has spoiled me, and I appreciate that because early on, he was such a supporter of me doing the business. I had the cushion. Like and I'm okay with admitting that, because not everybody has that advantage. However, at the same time, I'm still my own person, and so when I started my first business, which his name isn't on either one of the businesses, what I said to him was, because you are allowing me to do this in full support, I need to do this by myself. So if it crashes and burns, our family isn't tied up into this. And then on the flip side of that, I knew that I could do it. So obviously I believed in myself enough to know, like, there's gonna be some struggle. I'm smart. God has given me all the things that I need, and he's gonna help me figure it out. And he has definitely done that. So I can't speak to the God piece and on that side. I mean, obviously, I'm very blessed and fortunate that I had this support. So just in that, I know that truly that was God, that he allowed our finances to be able to support my dream. But as I've journeyed on, and then when I got to this second business, we had the money. Me and my business partner, we just had the money, and we had a plan. And again, we launched during COVID, so like you guys said, we profited off of really Black Lives Matter. I mean, you guys showed up for us, and I had never made that much money ever in a year. And I was thankful. Like, I cried so much from just seeing the power of us. And that's what we need now, because for real, I mean, and I know all y'all are seeing it, food businesses are struggling. We as Black business owners, it's hard. It's real hard. Like, a lot of us are very close to closing the door for a multitude of reasons, whether it's financially, not having staffing, or just being tired. But we need y'all support, because that's how we made it through COVID. So, you know, I'm grateful. And I know that God literally has had his hand on my life from the first day that I opened Sweet Petite to this very moment right now. So I am grateful, I'm humble, and I could not do it without him. And he's been with me every step of the way, from the highest to the highs to the lowest of the lows.
Before you answer, man, I just want to highlight, for those of you who are taking notes, Taryn said not only did she have the money, but she had a plan. And I think that sometimes we have one or the other, or neither, and we try to just jump into something and we don't have the finances, we don't have a plan. We just like, well, God said, but there has to be a plan. You have to order those steps. You can't just be like, well, I'm just gonna jump into it, but you don't know how to swim yet. So first, let's figure out how to swim. Let's figure out if we got all the right equipment. Then we jump in. So I think that was a really important point. I just wanted to highlight that. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's the short answer. It's so many variables that come along with entrepreneurship and business, whether it's where you are, the location, the product or service that you serve, the landscape of where you are at the time. Like, there's so many variables, and there's always going to be risk. Even when you do have the money, even when you do have a plan, there's an inherent level of risk. And so I think the right time is like you need to understand your risk tolerance. And when you get to a place where you feel like you can tolerate the risk associated with leaving your 9 to 5 and doing the job, then it's time to go. That's the only thing I have. Like, I can't look back over my entrepreneurial journey and say I have a lot of control over the pieces that have lined up or not lined up, and how I wound up where I am. I did that. I made that choice. Like, it's so many things that come along with it, and entrepreneurship is a grind. Like, it's constantly solving problems and figuring it out and pivoting here and changing this and innovating this, and so it's a grind. So I think the short answer is really just determining what your level of risk tolerance is, and then when you get to that place, just go ahead and do it.
For those who don't know how to assess that, how do I assess the risk tolerance? Like what are there actionable steps? Like, are there 3 things that I should look at when I'm assessing my risk tolerance? Is it, hey, I got the backup plan, or I got the spouse who's making a bag, or like, what am I?
I think the main thing is like, what is the worst case scenario, right? Like, when we start business or we start anything, we typically look at it as if everything works. Like, if this works, I'm gonna be good. If we look at it like, what is the worst case scenario? And if the worst case scenario is something that you feel like you can live with, or you can be okay with, it won't be the end of the world, I think that's when it's time to go. Like, if the worst case scenario is, with me and my wife, she was a breadwinner, she was kind of working. So if our worst case scenario is we go down to one income and I gotta go back to work, like, that's not that bad of a scenario. But if the worst case scenario is like, you and your family is gonna be homeless together, like, then you probably wanna, if you can't take that, like, if you're not ready to like sleep on the bench, you might need to just like keep grinding a little bit, keep it a 9 to 5, like, keep sucking it up before it's time to kind of take that leap.
I think financially, people just kind of get themselves, they dig a hole. And it's like, again, back to your point, man, it's like, you have to know, what money is going out of your house every single month. And if you don't have that stashed away somewhere, when you take that leap, you didn't make a good decision. Like, you really did not make a good decision. Because when you have other people depending on you, especially if you have a family, that's a very high risk. And you better make sure your family is on board with that risk. Because I've seen families break up because of that, because of a dream, and the whole family wasn't on board with that, especially from a financial standpoint. So that's why I said, for me, I was spoiled, because we could, my husband was like, I got you. If you crash and burn, you will be all right. You still can drive your car, and you still got a roof over your head. But that is not most people's situation. And if you have a spouse that don't really make the income for you guys to live off of one income, and you got a lot of debt, so I always tell people, assess your debt. Before you jump out there, get rid of that personal debt. So if something happens, at least you know, like, bare minimum, I can pay my rent. I got a roof over my head and I can eat. If you can't meet your basic necessities, don't pull the trigger. That's my biggest advice. Like, do not pull the trigger, because being an entrepreneur is so, again, he said it well, it's such a grind. And you don't know, you can have a good 2 or 3 months, and the next 2 months, man, you like, dude, I mean, is anybody walking down the street? Like, what's, like what's happening? Like, what changed over, you know, within those last 2 months? It can break you. And if you don't know how to, if you don't have yourself set up in a way where you can pivot, change, do something that's generating some income, it's crucial. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
I would say too, I don't think you ever truly know, but there are things that you would like to have in place. And I would say, like Taryn and Matt said, the finances is a really big thing. Understanding that and having reserves and savings put away. And understanding your business model. How are you going to make money, right? And so understanding, okay, this is revenue, this is the price of my product. I need to sell X and Y. What are my fixed costs? Really understand how many customers need to come through your door for you to pay your bills. And I don't think people really understand their business on a micro level like that. And I would definitely suggest that. They're just, I don't know, I'm going to open the business. But you don't know. I remember when we opened our first restaurant, I asked myself, I'm like, how are people going to know that we're here? Are they going to come in? You just don't know. What I had in the back of my mind, which was super helpful, was the mentality that, like, we live in America. What's the worst thing? Okay, I can get a job somewhere, and my wife was willing to ride with me to the end. We were cool. Hey, if I gotta get a minimum wage job, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to survive, and she was gonna rock with me. So I didn't have that same level of fear that if it crashed, because I'm like, we'll be all right, as long as we're healthy, we're alive, we can figure it out. It would be, a monumental step backwards, but we're comfortable with that.
One of the things that I probably haven't shared as much as I probably should have. When we first started Mortar, we had our 10-year anniversary last year. But when we first started, we were volunteers. Like, we were not getting paid at all. And, I still had my own business doing small business consulting and graphic design and all that. So I was still making money on the side. But, at some point, my wife did come to me and she's like, yeah, this is cute, but what's up? and so at that point I was like, you're right, like I need to figure something out, because, I do need to, it has to make sense, and so when you are putting all this time into something, it has to make sense. And there are those considerations of like, what are you willing to do to get to the thing? And Natasha, hopefully, I'm not putting your business in the street, but you've shared with us that, as a part of your journey, pulling from a 401k. So, and some of the challenges that come with that. So as we close out, I want two things, two last questions. What is like the biggest, hardest decision you've had to make in running your business? And lastly, what role does legacy play in the work that you're doing? All right, Jelana, you up?
Trying to think through the biggest, hardest decision. I would say it was most recently, honestly. So my wife and I, we were already a family business, and the legacy of Richie's was started by my father-in-law, and he ran into some challenges, mental health challenges and other business challenges, and closed his locations within the city. And really thinking about what to do from there, whether to try to save them or not. And my wife and I's lifestyle was fine. We didn't need the stress. We didn't need all of that. But the community wanted it, and we felt a duty to our family and to the community to make something beautiful for the city. But it was extremely hard, going from one store to two stores. That's 100% growth. 2 to 3, 50%, 33%. And, you know, the year before that, we had finally felt like we had gotten to a really good point. The first 5 years, we didn't take a vacation. Our first vacation was my grandmother's funeral in Baltimore. Then I remember how chaotic the store was. And before going into the service, we had cooks showing up drunk to work and all that stuff late. And then from that pure chaos in the first 5 years, we finally got something established and we were able to take vacations. We took a vacation to California, rode down the coast. We were doing all these beautiful things together. Finally, after all these years of struggle, and then it was like, boom, this issue, this issue, this issue. And, but we felt a duty to the family and the community to jump in. And so that's been the hardest thing. So we've opened a second one, and it's a lot of work. In terms of legacy, that is a part of it. It's about what drives me is just Black excellence and creating something where people can come in and say, yes, we can have things that are nice within our neighborhoods that are ran at a very high level. That's what drives me, and hopefully those people that have visited recently have seen that and the efforts we put in it. That's what drives us right now.
So one of the hardest decision I ever had to make was closing our storefront. So I was originally supposed to open our storefront in July of 2020. And, well, I opened it in July of 2020, but I was initially supposed to open it in March of 2020. But, you know, the world was shut down. And so I had to navigate opening a new business during COVID. And honestly, fast forward, people just kind of changed the way they shop. And I knew that I dealt with some guilt about it initially. And then I realized, like, once I got to the point where I felt a sense of freedom, I told myself, like, I'm shutting down the shop, but I'm shutting down the shop to keep the business going. Because if I didn't make that move, then I don't know where Originalities would be today. So, you know, still was able to retain our staff. You know, we did a lot of different pop-ups and things like that. But it was a tough decision. And then as far as like the legacy, like Originalities is a brand that brings different people together. And I've always wanted to be that brand that not just brings, you know, us together, but also to bring the city together. I always say it's more than a t-shirt. You know, our shirts tell stories. Every shirt we have tells some type of story. And like, I don't just create apparel just to make a quick buck off of it. I know the shirts that I can make to make a lot of money really fast, but that's not who we are with my core, you know? So, every day I strive to build something in our city, and I also like hire a lot of young people to help teach them about entrepreneurship and give them something that they can use later on in life as well.
And as Matt and Taryn are about to answer, if you have questions, we're going to have a couple minutes for questions from the audience about what to consider before you leave your 9 to 5. So if you want to prepare your questions.
I mean, full disclosure, it feels like every week I have the biggest, hardest, most challenging decision ahead of me. It does. But looking back, I think I'm with Keisha. I mean, closing our original store in 2019 was probably the hardest decision I ever made. The jump from 1 to 2 restaurants is a really, really big jump. Like Jelani and I were talking about it earlier. I mean, he brought up the point that your business is essentially growing by 100% And I failed at it the first time, miserably. And so closing that first restaurant was, much like he said, it was like pruning. It really was cutting off, something that was good for the good of the business. I mean, our original store was very, very low overhead, so it was very profitable. But it was really, really dragging the business down in terms of the resources that was associated with like keeping it up and running. And so that was very difficult to do, very challenging. And from a legacy standpoint, I think my wife and I, we think about legacy differently. Like I said, our business is a social enterprise. My purpose, and I'm sure of it, and I wish everybody was as sure about their purpose as I am, but my purpose is to impact the people that God brings into my organization. So our legacy is really how many lives can we impact, and turn around. And when I say turn around, from the sense of like in the food service industry or people who have any type of background, you find yourself in this cycle of what I call chasing quarters, which is like entry-level job to entry-level job to entry-level job. Well, how many people can we bring some sense of stability and earning power to go from like entry-level job to sticking and staying, building a career, and like starting to build some type of wealth for themselves and their families, and kind of affecting communities like that. So that's what we think about in terms of legacy as it relates to our business.
Hardest thing, probably closing Sweet Petite. Just because I never really, not at that time, I didn't think about closing it, but when the world shut down and then we had to open up Cream and Sugar, I did keep them both open simultaneously for a while. The beauty in that was, it really actually saved my life, because I was burning a candle at both ends at the exact same time. And so it was just really good that people were ordering online. We all got used to that. And so I didn't miss a beat there. So the income was still there, and I was like, yay, that's working. And for me, I clearly heard God's voice say, I need you to do this, because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to sustain both. And so when I made the decision, I just really, from a marketing standpoint, order your treats, come to my new coffee shop, pick your dessert up, get some coffee, get some food, and it worked. It was genius. And I suck at marketing, so that worked out really, really well. From a legacy standpoint, very similar to what Matt said. My business partner and I, we wanted to, when we opened up Cream and Sugar, literally this is a fun project for us. We just, two girlfriends, we love coffee shops, and we were like, let's open up a coffee shop. Like literally, that's how we opened up. That was the idea. And because she's from Evanston, the location that we're at, it was a coffee shop before. We wanted to make sure that the Evanston community and the children in the community seen people that look like them run a business. And the majority of our staff are college students, and it has been amazing to talk to them, to pour into them, and then also to just really pour into all of you that come to the coffee shop and need a word, because Aaron gonna give you a word. He is a man of God, and when I tell you, I mean, people will inbox me like, oh my God, and and I love that for him, because he understands that we are here to be a light. And I hope that always, that anytime anybody walks into the coffee shop, that you even just feel different, because it is about peace, and we want to keep passing it on and making sure that we're a light for the community, and that we get you to think differently about something, and we help you heal from something that you might be going through. So that's our mission.
Y'all answered everything. They had no questions. We either did it really good or really bad. All right, go ahead.
Specifically for Taryn and Keisha, but anyone can answer. I really appreciate that you both still have like a full-time job, because I'm in that space. How do you deal with the not necessarily negativity, but the doubt? Am I really serious about my hustle, my business, that I'm not doing it full-time? I know for me personally, I've really come to this realization recently, like, oh yeah, I need that stability, because I don't give myself stability any other time. So I need that stability of full-time to keep me grounded. But how do you deal with that when you're feeling like, ooh, am I serious about this? But then I don't stop. So have you experienced it? Have you experienced that, and how do you deal with it?
Well, one, I'm not full-time, so I'm part-time, and actually, I'm remote, so I don't have to report to an office. I don't feel any guilt, only because this job found me, and it was created for me, and it was created at a time. This is how dope what happened with this job for me was. I got hired for this job in February. I didn't start till March 2nd of 2020, not realizing that COVID was gonna be COVID, right? And as you can imagine, I'm like, I don't need anything else to do. So when the woman that created the job for me, my boss, I said, you know, I just told her flat out, I said, this has to fit into my life. And I was impressed at the fact that she thought enough of me to make that happen for me. But it was God's timing, because when the world shut down, we weren't working. The bills didn't stop for small businesses. Their grants weren't happening, like none of that stuff was happening. And so that job allowed me to take care of my family. And I feel a sense of, commitment, allegiance to the work that I'm doing, because since that time, even during that time, like, I was able to give grant money to Mortar, Urban League, like, people that was getting grants from organizations like Mortar and the Chamber and all of that. I'm happy to say that I played a part in that. I was able to help save us. Like, it's a real thing. Like, people don't know like what's happening behind the scenes, especially for us in our community and what needs to happen. So for me, that's why I'm still in this role, because I'm still trying to take care of us. And we need it now. So it's like done a whole nother cycle. And guess who was the president then? So here we are again. And so now I'm faced with trying to figure out how can I take care of us again. And so I feel a sense of responsibility in that. So I don't feel no guilt. When I tell you I am blessed and I am grateful, like I hope y'all can feel what I am saying. I'm blessed.
Preach, Taryn.
Amen. That's a very good question that you asked. I think the biggest thing is what I've learned to do during this time is I've always felt like I wasn't very good at delegating. So working a job and being an entrepreneur, and I can't be there physically all the time. Like there's pop-ups that we have and I physically can't be there. I've had to depend on my team. And it's led me to offer them some leadership opportunities. So now, like when we go to pop-ups, I'm not the leader per se, you know? I'm asking some of our younger people like, hey, do you wanna, I want you to manage things this weekend, or I want you to basically give them more leadership opportunities. I think the other thing is also having a good team around you. Because like they said earlier, you can't do it on your own. And because I know I can't do it on my own, I don't want a bunch of yes people on my team either. I don't want people to just say yes to everything. If my idea sucks, tell me it sucks. You know, I don't want to find out down the line like, oh yeah, I thought your idea was terrible, but here I am moving forward with it. But I just think there can be that guilt, but I think it just needs to be redirected.
One more question. Will there be one? All right, we're not gonna force it. All right, give it up for our panelists, Taryn, Matt, Jelani, Keisha.
Hey, Richie's Chicken and Soul fam. Just wrapped up the conversation, the panel discussion. Really awesome session. It was hosted by Alan from Mortar, which is a local a nonprofit that helps entrepreneurs and startups. And it was really great. They asked great questions, like how do you know when you're ready to make that leap? And then, you know, some of just general challenges and etc. So it was one of the first panel discussions I've done as an entrepreneur, and so really grateful for the opportunity and getting out there and you know, telling the community about our brand and what we stand for and all of that. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and my prepared talking points, it really didn't flow the way I thought it would, but I was able to still go back to those points that I previously wanted to highlight in terms of, you know, understanding that leadership is hard, that it takes more time and money than you think, and, you know, investing in yourself and in your business. So hope you guys find this useful. If you like this sort of content, let us know, and appreciate you guys for watching.